Hi, we're Alex, Abby, Chloe, and Juliana, and you're watching Disney Channel. Psych, this is Crash Course.
Today we are going to be talking about national parks and services.
A national park is a scenic or historically important area of the countryside protected by the federal government for the enjoyment of the general public or preservation of wildlife.
There are nearly 100 countries around the world with land classified as a national park. Throughout the entire world, there's a total of 6,555 national parks.
When we get closer to home and see how many there are in the United States, it's a total of 418 national parks.
The United States is home to 11 of the top 20 national parks to visit.
The system of breaking up national parks is broken into 20 different park types.
There's battlefield, military, historical, lakeshores, memorials, and monuments.
Right now, we're in Kennesaw at the Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park, which is 2,888 acres wide.
This park showcases the history of Civil War, where over 67,000 soldiers died in Atlanta during the Atlanta campaign. The battle was fought from June 19th to July 2nd, 1864.
The name Kennesaw came from the Cherokee Indian word Ganesa, which means cemetery or burial ground.
This park was made part of the National Park System in 1933. The National Park System is an agency of the United States federal government that manages all national parks, many national monuments, and other conservation and historical properties with various title designations.
There are many acts that have to do with national parks, such as the Forest Reserve Act, the National Park Service Act, the National Trails Act, the Wilderness Act, etc.
The National Trails Act establishes trails in both urban and rural settings for people of all ages, interests, skills, and physical abilities. It promotes the enjoyment and appreciation of trails while encouraging greater public access.
There are many issues involving national parks, such as wildlife management, foreign invaders, adjacent development, climate change, water issues, etc.
If the Earth's climate continues to change, as scientists predict it will, the national parks will be impacted like the rest of the planet. Glaciers may melt away, as indeed they are at Glacier National Park in Montana. Fire seasons may grow in length and severity, and the landscape may shift under the feet of the park's wild residents.
That help support national parks. The Forest Reserve Act is a law that allowed the president to set aside national reserves from the lands in the public domain.
There's also a National Park Service Act, which is a federal law that establishes the National Park Service, an agency of the U.S. Department of Interior. The act is gathered into a single system that contains 14 national parks and 21 national monuments.
The National Trails Act establishes trails in both urban and rural settings for people of all ages, interests, skills, and physical abilities to enjoy. It also promotes the enjoyment and appreciation of trails, which encourages greater public access.
There's also the Wilderness Act that created the National Wilderness Preservation System. The United States protects federal managed wilderness areas designated for preservation in their national condition. And here Juliana is with the current event.
This past January in 2019, the government shut down. With the government shut down, many services were out of workers. One in particular were national parks. The Joshua Tree National Park in Southern California was affected drastically with this. Many people started off-road driving because no one was there to stop them, and off-road driving caused the Joshua trees to be destroyed completely. Other people decided to camp there, but they would not clean up after themselves, leaving it trashed and vandalized completely. There were many people that offered to volunteer and clean up these campsites, fixing it and cleaning up, but they were not able to recuperate all the trees that were destroyed, because on average a Joshua tree will take 1,000 years to grow completely, and in a year it can grow an inch, but if it's a wet season they'll grow 5 inches. However, if it's a dry season they will not grow at all, which is why it takes so long for them to grow completely. The government needs to have a plan to protect these national parks because they're so marvelous. And in reality, they're under the National Park Preservation Act, meaning they're protected only while the government is up. So they need to figure out a way out to have workers there to maintain the land for the next time they decide to shut down.
There are 1,100 national parks in the world today, with 48 that are in the U.S. Due to the expenses, a lot of parks are not well kept up with, and human activity has one of the largest negative impacts.
In the United States, there's 84 million acres that are considered to be part of the National Park System, and more than 4 million acres of that land is still in private ownership. U.S. national parks are threatened by large visiting populations that cause erosion and congestion and disrupts the wildlife.
Noise and air pollution is also a threat, which is caused by both visitors and cars. Also, some commercial activities affect the parks like urban development, logging, and livestock grazing. Some non-human impacts is the growth of non-native species that impact the biodiversity. Some solutions to reduce the amount of private land within national parks is with incentives for the owners to sell it and providing tax incentives for them to use land grants.
Having more of the land being public, which refers to the government owning it, there are more ways to control what is being done with the land and preserve it correctly. The government can also start a fee system that will reduce the amount of people that visit and cover the external costs. Another solution is conducting reoccurring and detailed wildlife and plant inventories to keep up with the land and keep the biodiversity stable.
Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park is a 2,965-acre national battlefield that preserves the Civil War battleground of the national campaign. Opposing forces maneuvered and fought here from June 19, 1864 until July 2, 1864. Although most famous as a Civil War battlefield, Kennesaw Mountain has a much richer story.
There are many landscape changes made during the Civil War. The war severely altered the landscape of what is now the Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. Soldiers cut down trees and tore apart homes to build eastern fortifications for protection known as earthworks. The thousands of soldiers marching through the area killed grass, leaving large patches of exposed clay that when it rained turned into pools of thick mud. The fauna was so badly damaged by foraging soldiers, fire, and the battles.
8 miles of earthworks are still visible today at the Cheltenham Hill battlefield location of the Kennesaw Mountain National Battlefield Park. The plant life growing on the earthworks today can help keep them intact. Without this growth, the fortifications will be subject to soil erosion.
Artifacts may still be found today, but a frequent question is asked, can we go looking for them? The short answer is no. It is actually illegal to relic hunt on federal property or even taking items that you happen upon. There is a law that prohibits the removal of artifacts from public lands like national parks. It's the Archaeological Resources Protection Act of 1979, ARPA.
Some fun facts about national parks. The National Park Service protects over 84 million acres of wildlife landscapes and historic sites. The Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana is the oldest U.S. national park founded in 1872.
The second U.S. national park created is no longer a national park. Mackinac National Park in Michigan was established in 1875 and was returned to the state in 1895. It is now one of Michigan's state parks. 3 of the 10 highest waterfalls in the world are located in Yosemite National Park in California.
Okay. Ribbon Falls in Yosemite is 9 times taller than Niagara Falls. One of the hottest temperatures on Earth was recorded in 1913 in Death Valley National Park, registered at 134 degrees.
The Grand Canyon in Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona is known as one of the 7 natural wonders of the world.
California's Sequoia National Park is home for the largest living single-stem trees in the world, the wonderfully named General Sherman. The tree is approximately 275 feet tall and weighs approximately 1,900 metric tons. When a gigantic sequoia tree fell and blocked a road in Sequoia National Park in California in 1937, the National Park Service simply created a tunnel through the 270-foot by 21-foot tree.
Wrangell St. Elias National Park, Alaska is the largest national park covering 13,000 square miles or 13.2 million acres. Death Valley National Park is the largest national park in the lower 48 U.S. states, stretching 5,300 square miles or 3.4 million acres.
The smallest national park is the Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas. coming in at about 5,500 acres. This is actually the first federally protected piece of land in 1832. It was not named a national park until 1921. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is the most visited national park with more than 9 million guests per year, followed by Grand Canyon National Park, which gets more than 4 million visits per year.
Mount McKinley in the Alaska range of Denali National Park is the highest point in the national parks at 20,302 feet. Additionally, Denali National Park has the widest range of elevations, from 200 feet in Yetna River to 20,302 feet at the summit of Mount McKinley. California and Alaska each have 8 national parks. Arches National Park is famous for having the largest concentration of stone arches in the world.
Utah's 5 national parks are all within easy driving distance of each other, which means that you can cross 5 national parks off your bucket list in just one trip. The Colorado River and the Green River flow through Utah's national parks, offering some of the best whitewater rafting anywhere in the country.
Everglades National Park protects more than 25% of Florida's original Everglades subtropical wetlands. Dry Tortugas National Park in Florida is known for its world-renowned concentration of turtles. Alaska is home to one of the least visited national parks. Kavuk Valley National Park receives just 3,000 visitors per year.